Hi there. Welcome. What can I say? I'm Ade Awokoya. This is my coaching website, Coaching for Purpose, and this is about my book, The Icarus Project. It's, I'll just ram right in there. Chapter 1, Crisis. Mapping my journey. I had lost my job in the civil service after suffering from a heart condition, arrhythmia, which required surgery, and was burnt out after a few years in posts taking my employers to the Court Tribunal. I felt rudderless and bereft of choice, although I had been able to attend counselling sessions through the National Health Service. I was close on 50 years, it's way back now, older now, and still single. Living in East London, miles away from my preference of Kensington. And here's a quote: "Disaster comes only because of ignorance." Judah the Great. Hence, one becalmed spring day with the sun shining and the birds singing, I took a walk in the local park to ponder my destiny situation. What to do? There were no sudden flashbacks, but the mist slowly passed away from my eyes to unravel the path traveled, and I looked for a pattern. This was surely a crisis point, but I realized it had been long in coming and averted only due to my previous stamina and aggression. I had always had a hard time being employed, and this had replicated through my jobs in Lagos, Nigeria, Connecticut, USA, and now London, United Kingdom. The true constant being my behavior and aversion to rules. Something had to give before I finally cracked. As the days followed, I mulled my options, realizing my focus was to look onwards and forwards, without getting bogged down in an ephemeral search for resolving my complex character. It was obvious that the most successful sports people had coaches, and a quote by the Google chairman and chief executive struck a chord: "Everybody needs a coach." Eric Schmidt, that's the guy. So I fell back on what good skill I had: research or due diligence. This included attending events on the benefits of coaching and how to find a coach. But old habits die hard, and I have always had a penchant for the extreme, hence found it hard to decide on the best suitable coach. Extreme logic took over, and my new rationale then was to actually train as a life coach in order to be able to rank the best one for myself. So of course I had to check out the syllabus of the various training academies, draw up a budget, and eventually made a payment plan to NMC, which I found to be suitable. The bonus was a charismatic founder told a good story and gave a good pitch on how this could also be a business. The path to counseling. During and after the toxic events, and well after my exit from my civil service job, I had been experiencing severe neck and back pain. That was my facial pain syndrome. After a non-invasive heart procedure I had to take, I was on a prescription of painkillers, which gave me mood swings and depression. But I was lucky to be referred to NHS counseling service well before my coaching journey. And the few sessions I attended with talking therapy gave me a sense of balance. The best part of the sessions was that I did all the talking, and the counselor simply nodded, listened, and only gave prods to lengthen my answers. This was my first experience of the instance of active listening as a tool in therapy. There was no judgment on my responses and no advice given, which allowed me the space to accept my guilt and shortcomings and override the suicidal thoughts I had built up. Man is born free, but everywhere found in chains. And that's a quote by Saint Ramalingam. Behavioral insights talk about closing the gates after the horse has bolted. After my retreat from the civil service, I took an in-depth questionnaire on that was titled Discovery, Transformation Leadership by Insights and made, well, a startling discovery. Apparently, my style was unsuited to the civil service. I'll quote snippets from the report. Leading, rigid on code of conduct and needs to lighten up a bit. Team may use a style that tends to be directive more than supportive. Communications can be oversensitive to criticism and reacts with self-defense. Yep, not karate. But yeah, development enjoys the challenge of being coached by a competent and assertive coach. There you go. Vision needs to ask more what-if questions and be innovative at the start of the solution process. I'm holding on to that and I'm really working hard on the vision to take my business going forward. But enough of that. I'll stick to the book. Road to Recovery. I also took part in a patient recovery program run by Expert Patients Program (CIC) and got a certificate for attending its said course on chronic disease self-management course in November 2010. This helped with an action plan, especially managing my prescription. I embarked on an acupuncture treatment, but found that pain relief, yeah, it was stabbing me in the back. But pain relief was only temporary, while I got fed up of having pins done down my back. I attended several rounds of physiotherapy until the consultants explained they could not do much to alleviate my condition any longer. However, the journey to wean myself off the painkillers took another year, 3 months maybe. And this involved attending physiotherapy and mindful exercises. This all helped put me on the first steps to embarking on my coaching journey. And that's what I tell people. Coaching is not therapy. Okay? Get that right. Attending coaching school. So it was back to school again. And the coursework came in heavy ring binders, duly arrived by post in a big carton box. The course had a good structure, mhm, made up of two parts. The first part was a distance learning with teleclasses tied up with the modules in coursework material, and I had practical coaching hours to be logged over Skype, and I had to submit a book critique and a reflective essays along with the final assignment of publishing. The second part, more enjoyable, was a 3-day residential course in the countryside, which was a useful spur to action since I had to complete half of the coursework before I was eligible for this. However, I looked forward most to the 3-day residential part, which did not disappoint. It was held in a stately home northwest of Oxford City area. Took me about 2 hours travel by train away from London. Yeah, and broke my coffee of never getting past the M25. It was invigorating to be in the countryside and to meet fellow practitioners and the tutors, quite good guys. And I took copious notes, but the best part was yet to come. It was one of the break periods, and I ambled about and fetched myself a cup of coffee, which promptly spilled and got me on a hot under the collar. And then this young lady pops up by my shoulder and tells me, wow, that was fantastic. Aha, my head swiveled about, and before I could give her a withering look, she disarmed me with a smile. Yes, Ariane, her name was, I found out, explained that the perspective that she took was that the spill occurred on the linoleum floor and just on the edge of the plush carpet. So a disaster had been averted. Ah, it was about perception. I found out that Ariane was French and had flown in from France for the residential. She had signed up as a career change from a marketing background and, of course, had a lovely accent on her very good English. And that's how we built up rapport and the basis on which my decision to have a peer coaching arrangement with her during and after our course completion. It did not disappoint, guys. She was a lifesaver. Anyway, moving on. I had signed up and paid for the coaching course in July 2009, and the estimated schedule was to complete in 15 months with the award of a life coach practitioner, diploma. And it was then 8 months after the start that I was grinding away at my coursework modules. I attended the presidential course in February 2010. The thrill of meeting Ariana at the residential course sparked a revival in my enthusiasm for the coaching work, and we set up a Skype coaching meetup after her return to Paris. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement with benefits for me as a client. Mentor coach. However, I was not on my lonesome, as one of the perks of the course was to provide me a mentor coach to guide me through client coaching and provide me with training feedback. Working with my mentor coach was an invaluable aid in developing my practical coaching skills. In the mentoring sessions, the mentor coach acted as the client while I was the coach. The feedback provided as part of each session helped to develop my skills as a coach. There were several telephone coaching calls taking place at intervals throughout the length of my training, which I used as a practical learning guide. Coaching sessions with my mentor coach were scheduled in conjunction with additional coaching practice, study buddy, reciprocal or practice coaching. My mentor coach, the clients, helped to guide me through a number of issues which commonly arise in coaching relationships and train me in both coaching skills and in how to deal with these issues and topics. Oh, and there were all the logbooks I had to fill. Through this period, I was still ill and on painkillers, but the focus on my learning path pulled me through some difficult periods. The telecast modules helped to anchor my feelings and exercises on beliefs and values elicitation, amongst others, were very useful. The target was to have completed the course by November 2010, and I had some flashes of brilliance, receiving a distinction for the book critic submitted. The struggle, but I struggled with the written assignments and the final submission. This had nothing to do with the course standard. It was reflection of the conflict and stress I had gone through, alongside the legal defense I had to make to the Employment Tribunal to prevent my civil service dismissal. It had diminished not only my work ethic, but also my drive to succeed in my endeavors. I had always pushed myself to achieve targets with a competitive mindset, and I was now bereft of that mindset. The coaching course had given me the insights into how to achieve balance and change gears, and one of the best was to learn to pull instead of being pushed now, pull yourself to achieve targets. The toolkit and saboteurs clarification had also helped me identify the issue for me in this case as apathy. So this book is now been written and published 10 years later as my final written assignment. Hey, please don't tell. Anyway, this is Ade. Thanks for hanging in there. And look out for chapter 2 coming out right around the corner. Bye now.